Hello, and oh my god, I'm actually live. This is the first live stream that I've done in about a month. Just so many things got in the way, but hey, we're finally back. As you can see, I am joined by Shadow, which I will remember to take off of mute before we do anything else. So you are now, be- you should be able to be heard if all things go right. So can you just say something?
So do you think that's a good thing or not that I can be heard this time?
Well, yeah, I did have my doubts, but I'm just glad that we're actually able to do this because it's been so long. What with you being ill, and then um with me,
Spoiler alert: I had COVID.
which thankfully you seem to be over.
Yes,
Um,
I am.
so yes, COVID is still a thing out there. Um, so you gotta be careful. That's kind of all I want to say about the whole COVID situation. Um, so, as it's been so long, I feel completely not prepared. We both have movies that we want to talk about. Um, so, do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first this time.
Okay, well, part of the reason why I wasn't live streaming was for about 6 days I went down to Ashford and spent some time with my other half, who's been on here filling in for you. I think one time. He was gonna do it a second time, but things just didn't work out. Um, but anyway, I went to see him and like just spend time with him in general because thanks to COVID, we really haven't been able to do what we would normally do, which is like we'd do kind of holidays like that periodically throughout the year. Um, and this is the first time we've been able to do it really in like 2 years. So we kind of went all out with this one. Um, I did just stay at his, which made things a little bit cheaper. Um,
I was going to say we could get him to join us one day on this call, and we could have a threesome.
that would be awesome. Although
I
I,
don't use that word, sweet fella.
that's the only context you would ever use that term. So you're fully aware. I can't believe you just said that. Oh man. Right, okay. So I went down there as I've said like a bajillion times by now. And on one of
Uh-huh.
the days we were wanting to see a movie. And there actually wasn't that much on that we were wanting to go and see. The only one that we wanted to go and see was the Batman.
Mhm.
Which right off the bat I can just say um was awesome, and it deserves all of the praise that it gets. It's definitely more the detective side of what Batman is, than what we've seen in all of the other movie adaptations. Which, to be honest, I think is the only thing left for them to bring to the movie screen because we've seen like everything else, Batman wise. So that was awesome. The one thing I didn't like was the design of the penguin, but like
How's that?
that's such a minor detail. Um, because like to me the penguin is he should be designed somewhere between how Danny DeVito looked in Batman Returns and how the animated series that drew him, um, where in the Batman, it's just some fat guy with some scars. We don't get any of the backstory to him. He's just kind of like, to use a gaming terminology, he's like the mid boss. Like he's like there, but he's not super important. Um,
Hmm.
like he is important to a point in that he's there to give information or to further the plot in some way, but he's not the main focus. You know. Um,
Yeah.
but the design of him, I felt was a bit lazy. Um, but that's because I prefer those two designs that I've already mentioned. Um, but everything else about the movie I really liked. I was actually surprised that they had Andy Andy Serkis as Alfred, and he wasn't in like a motion cap kind of situation. I'm not used to
Hmm.
seeing him just as an actor, and it was really nice to see him in kind of a more normal role. You know, it just goes to show
Uh-huh.
how good of an actor he actually is. Hey, nice of you to put on. We actually have somebody in the chat. Are
Oh,
you
hello.
are you able to see the chat?
I can. I can't see the chat, but I can log in to have a look at the chat.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're just talking about the movies that we've seen recently. I've seen the Batman. Um, and Shadow. What was the name of your movie?
The bad guys.
Um, which I have seen the trailer for, but I haven't seen. But it does look really good. Um, when I was watching the Batman, we were watching it. Um, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like you had the main screen in front, and then it kind of bled round the sides. So when you were watching, it was like that was your entire field of vision, which in theory worked well. But I think because of where the um, wheelchair accessible seating was, whenever they used the side bits, the lighting changed just a little bit. So the front main screen kind of went washed out a bit. So it made things a little bit harder to actually see what was going on. So um, yeah, that kind of ruined the experience for me somewhat. Um, but yeah, it was still a really good movie.
That's not good.
No, so regardless, the story was really good. And I do plan on getting it on Blu-ray at some point, whenever that does come out. And then I think I will have every movie adaptation of Batman that was done in live action, because I have like the old movie serials of the 40s and I think 30s, right up to like the
Uh-huh.
Nolan verse. I think the only Batman one I don't have actually is the Superman Batman one, and that's only because I don't like Superman. Like in any of the movies that I've seen, like I'm just not interested in Superman at all. So that's why I kind of don't have that one. So yeah, that's all I have to
Well,
say
for
about
me,
Gun.
I think for me, I'm not really like a DC fan at all, really.
Right, so there's none whatsoever of the DC movies that you would choose to go and see. You're definitely more
See,
Marvel.
I'm more Marvel. See, I'd watch a DC movie, but it just I don't think are anywhere near as good as like a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Um, I think they actually gave up on the um, DC cinematic universe and have gone back to doing just standalone movies. But I do kind of hope that we get a sequel to this Batman because it is really good. If we don't get a sequel to it, I think we will end up getting a lot of film noir type movies, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool because you just don't see a lot of film noir stuff now. Um, like that's kind of a really old genre that's kind of died out. So I'm glad to see it getting some kind of love again, even if it is with like a really big kind of bankable license like Batman. You know, it was still really good, even though there was some lighting issues in the cinema that I went to see it at. That didn't put me off one bit. It's just made me want to get the um, Blu-ray even more whenever that happens. I can see your um, test, so you can now see the chat and
Yeah.
write back. Awesome. Um, remind me to follow you because um, I think you follow me. So anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say about the Batman, and now you can go on about yours.
So the movie I watched today was I actually watched it today. It wasn't like a couple of weeks ago. Was The Bad Guys. Now, The Bad Guys is based on a book of the book series of the same title by if I go back, I just need to check the author. I did have the author, and then I went into checking the chat. It's by an author called Aaron Blabey or Blaby. It's Blabey. And he's written a series of comic book style books. And before I went into seeing the movie, I had not read a single one of his books. So it was, and in fact, up until yesterday, I didn't even know anything about the movie. But apparently, it's been uh, on the works for a very long time since like before lockdown, the first lockdown, and then it got pushed back and it got pushed back, and it was meant to be released like October, I think, last year rather. Then it got pushed back to obviously the release date as we have it now, which is obviously
That's
March
interesting because the first time I've heard
the
about
20th.
it was when you were telling me, like half an hour
Yeah,
before we came live.
but apparently it's not even released in the States yet. I think it's released here first. And that's
Interesting.
not unusual. That sometimes does happen, but yeah. So literally it's so like new. There's like I tried like before I left the theater, I tried to see if there's like end credit scenes, so I didn't have to stick around for the credits. But
Mhm.
there's no information about it yet, so it tells me it's not out in the States yet. It's literally probably we're the first to get it, and it's probably the first day of release.
Yeah.
So which is quite unusual. It's quite unusual for that information not to be there, but there wasn't information there. And just so you know, there is some things in the end credits, but there's not a scene as such. There is a scene like midway through, kind of, um, but there's a kind of a thing at the end of the credits, but it's not like a full blown scene.
Yeah. Well, thanks to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I sit through the credits no matter how old a movie is, just because you just never know, you know?
Yeah, and there's some movies do have them, some movies don't. It just depends. Um, and yeah, so back to the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and it's kind of for me. It had the vibes of um, Ocean's 11. So it had it's kind of like an animated version of Ocean's 11
Do you know what?
with
I've never
with
actually seen those. Any of the ocean movies.
yeah. Well, it's very similar to Ocean's 11 with like a Quentin Tarantino vibe to it.
Ooh, nice.
So there wasn't like blood and guts and stuff, but in terms of his style, it
Okay,
had a Quentin
so
Tarantino's.
this is what I'm picturing. Ocean's 11 and Kill Bill.
Well, kind of, yeah, but it's really good, and actually, um, it's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. And one of the things I did point out was I could uh, like draw comparisons to is Zootopia, um,
Yeah, it
and
did
that
look a bit like that.
the the relationship between um, Mr. Wolf, I think it's Mr. Wolf is the character's name, and I'll just check the character's name now while I'm here.
Yeah, it is
Um,
Miss,
is it
Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, it's Wolf. Wolf is the character, and the relationship between Wolf and Diana, sorry, Wolf and Diane Foxington, who plays the mayor in the city. It, it reminds me of the relationship between Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde.
Okay,
It's got that sort of similar vibe to it.
cool.
Um, and the storyline, I'm not going to talk much about like what happened in the movie, um, but um, it's the story is it's got a lot of twists and turns in it, which is really good, and that I obviously the relationships between the characters and are really quite good, and things happen which is completely unexpected in the movie. So I would actually recommend that you go and see it because it's really good. And if you like sort of like your Ocean's 11 type heist mission type movies, I would recommend it to you.
I do like heist type things, although I've not seen the ocean ones. Yeah, it does kind of make me want to see it. Um, but because of the animation, and it makes me think of Kung Fu Panda. I'll probably wait until it's on some live streaming, um, because I don't really
It's
want to own
actually
it.
it's not actually like the animation style is different to Kung Fu Panda. It's completely different. It's more like Zootopia,
Right? Okay.
mixed in of comic book style.
Just from the trailer that I've seen, um,
Yeah,
that's kind of what it was making me think of more than
yeah,
Zootopia, or should I
yeah.
say
But
Zootropolis, because that has multiple names for some
yeah, you
reason.
see, I'm even going to.
Go on.
There's a funny thing about that is the reason I said I was not going to condone calling it Zootropolis because I don't believe it. They should have called it that because, in the UK anyway.
Me
It's only
neither.
called Zootropolis. It's called Zootropolis in the UK, Norway, and a couple of other European countries. Everywhere else, it's Zootopia. And the reason why? Do you know the reason why?
Nope.
Yeah. So the reason why they called it that, Zootropolis here, is because there is this zoo. I don't know if it's open yet or if it's been scrapped or anything like that. But there's a zoo going to open up in Europe called, I think it was in Norway or in the Netherlands, called Zootopia.
Right.
And basically, the idea behind this zoo was it's meant to be kind of like a cageless zoo. So there's no cages, and that it's kind of a bit like Jurassic World. So during Jurassic World movie, the characters go in this big pod, and the pod moves about the enclosures.
Yeah, that
That's how Zootopia was going to be,
that
or is
sounds
going to be.
terrible. That sounds like a really bad
So
idea.
so the so the pods move in the enclosures and it goes into water and stuff like that. So it's on a track, and the track it just moves along the track.
I mean,
And
if
then there's
if you've seen any of the Jurassic Park or World movies, you'll know that kind of thing just doesn't work. Oh
well,
my god,
that was their idea, and they're going with it. So,
that's crazy.
but anyway, I digress. That is why it's called Zootropolis because of that.
Okay, is there anything else you want to say
Um,
about the movie, or do you want to go on to the book now?
yeah, so I'll put a break in between that and the book to let you talk about your next thing.
Okay,
But in terms of the movie, um, what else was I going to say about it? There was something I was going to say about it. Um, I know it's probably not released in the states yet, but um, what I would say about it is that if you like if you like comic book style of movie and mixed in with like your Zootopia type of animation, I would it's can kind of be your jam because
yeah,
it's got for example there um the there's sometimes pictures get taken of the characters take pictures of themselves and they put them up in the fridge in their lair,
right.
and the pictures are quite of like a comic book style. The drawings kind of comic book style,
Sounds cool.
which is which is quite good. And it's quite a different animation style to what DreamWorks usually do. Um, so it's different to like Shrek or to Kung Fu Panda. It's more on the lines of like a Pixar or Zootopia type thing.
It's done by the same people that made Shrek, though, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe they've used a different animator program. So
Yeah,
maybe they've
maybe,
used the same one as
but it's the
In
same company.
Zootopia.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it is the same
yeah,
company.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, right. Okay,
but
so my next thing, um, I've been meaning to talk about the box sets that I got, which you can see just to the like side there. All of these, like, I'm I'm not gonna pull them off and talk about them one by one because there's just so many. But like, I just really wanted to spotlight the kind of sets that these are, and I'm going to use this one just as an example. I got a whole load of these, and they kind of look like um, VHS tapes um, from the style of the box. Um, but when you open them, this is probably not the best one to pick because I have to replace parts of it. But like, you get this a booklet which has a disc by disc breakdown of every single movie that's on it. So I'll just show you that page as an example, which comes in really handy because the discs themselves are just in paper sleeves, and sometimes you don't even get the disc art because they have movies on both sides. Um, they are like old public domain prints. Um, so like the picture quality it isn't that good. Um, but a lot of the time it's the only way you can check out some of these. Like um, if you like the old Universal horror for example. So like um, Bella Lugosi as Dracula, which I do have a really nice set of like all of those like right over here, which I can just about reach. Um, but anyway, um, some of his movies that he done around about the same time, they haven't got the same love for them from the studios. So you're lucky if you can get a hold of them in any condition. Um, and I'm kind of wanting to see every single one of his movies. So that's kind of my motivation for getting the boxes like this. Plus, I just think they look really cool. Um, but speaking of like more high quality kind of box sets, um, I I seem to have gotten really good at finding out of print um, boutique label box sets. Um, Arrow Video, which is like the UK equivalent of Criterion, um, who do the
Mm-hmm.
re- restorations of the movies and have a whole load of extras on their Blu-rays. Um, they do like special editions, like this one for the House collection, which has all four of the House movies, plus a book of essays. Um, they did do a slimmed down box, which was just the movies. Um, but like you have really nice box art, and um, like it's actually a hard box, so it's like not flimsy. Um, and um, I think that one in particular was quite a early release for them because it um, includes the DVD and the Blu-ray, which they soon abandoned. Um, but I have watched the Fest of the House movies, and essentially it's a horror comedy. So
All right.
you might actually be able to watch it because it's not too scary. Um, everything okay? Um, yeah. So anyway, the house movies I really looked out on finding this box set. Um, I actually got it for a really fair price. Um, it seems to go for like about £100 on eBay. And I got it for like 40. So I just got really lucky finding that. Um, I got it second hand in CEX, which is the computer exchange, but they tend to go by sex, which I think is so stupid. So I tend to call them CEX. Anyway, um, and whilst I was down in Ashford, I seen this one, which is a box set of George A. Romero movies, which he done in between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. We have The Crazies, Season of the Witch, not to be confused with Halloween Season of the Witch, completely different movie. Um, and there's always Vanilla. And just like with the other set that I've showed, uh, they have a whole load of extras. Um, the booklet isn't quite as big as in the other one, but it's still a fairly sizable booklet. Um, and it's like essays to do with the movie. You've got alternate covers for the individual movies, as well as the on disc interviews and commentaries and all of that good stuff. Um, I do plan on getting both Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and actually putting them in between this box set just because I just think it's a really fun idea. Plus, I've been meaning to get those movies anyway. Um, Funny enough,
Mm.
because Night of the Living Dead is technically in the public domain, and I was able to see it on one of these kind of box sets. So I technically already have it, but of course the Blu-ray that I want to get has it all nicely restored and everything. Um, but if you wanted to watch it, you could easily find the public domain print for free somewhere. Um, and yeah, you could just check it out. Um, but yeah, um, House I definitely think would be a one that you would really like. I mean, it is very 80s. I will say that. Um, and it's all practical effects. So like the monsters that are in it are just people in suits or really complex puppetry, which personally I really like. So yeah, that's kind of the
So kind of like ET.
um
That was a
yeah.
puppet as well,
I mean,
and it was animatronic type puppet thing.
in terms of the style, it's nothing like ET, but yeah, in the sense that it was all practical stuff. Yeah, definitely. Um, so in terms of disability, though, while I was down there, um, I did notice just how up and downhill the um area is, and that was kind of a pain, but we still managed to get everywhere, and we walked slash
You
pushed
would not. You would.
everywhere.
You would. You would not. You would not like Edinburgh then. That's all uphill.
Well, I don't think it would bother me too much because um, I had a great time while I was down there, and it was all up and downhill, and we managed fine, you know. But it might put some people off, so I thought it best to mention it.
Yeah.
Um, Having said that, though, like the cinema that we went to, um, their wheelchair accessible seating was actually in a fairly good spot. Where normally, in my experience, when you go somewhere, their wheelchair accessible seating is usually like really low down, so you end up like this for like 2 to 3 hours, and then you have a bad neck. But that wasn't the
Uh-huh.
case, so that's one good thing about it. I mean, I still
Just
would
have
have
fa-
liked it to have been higher up, um, just because of the weird lighting situation that happened. Um, but yeah, I don't think that's going to be for every single movie. Um, but if you've never been down there, just be aware that it is very up and downhill. So if you're in a wheelchair like us two, you've got to factor that in. I mean, and I know for
well,
you, yeah,
I've got a power chair, so that doesn't really matter.
yeah, for you it's fine. But for people
Yeah.
like me who just can't get away with using power chairs, um, yeah, that's something that needs to be took into account. Um, Speaking of power chairs, actually, um, the kind of power chair that I probably would be able to get away with is like when um, a normal chair, for lack of a better term, um, gets the power assist added to it. I could probably get away with that, but controlling the chair just with a joystick type thing, I find very difficult.
Yeah.
I have tried and did not like it at all, did not feel safe, did not feel in control. So it's definitely not for me. Um, which probably explains why I'm not very good at doing video games where you have to use that kind of control, because I just suck at it.
You see, I feel more in control using my joystick and my wheelchair
Interesting. It's all to
because
do
you can
with like
control.
muscle memory and stuff anyway, isn't it? So,
Like I can stop a lot more quickly in a like my power chair than any other chair.
yeah, it's really interesting. Oh, one more thing before I um hand over to you to talk about the book. Whilst I was down there, I had my other half sort out Clone Hero. Have you ever
Uh,
heard of that game?
I think so, but it was a while ago.
Okay. Back in like the PlayStation 2 era slash Xbox 360 era, um,
All right, okay.
they done these games, Guitar Hero and Rock Band, which kind of flooded the market, which very quickly died out afterwards because of the oversaturation. Um, but it meant we were left with these kind of controllers where you could only play that one game with, right?
Yeah.
So what somebody's done is they've made their own game, and essentially you use the old controller, which yes, I've had to kind of Frankenstein it so it'll work, plugging it into the computer. Um, which, by the way, this bit only cost me like £5. Um, as I already had like the controller, that was like free because I've had it since it was like new. Um, but anyway, if you were wanting to get into it, you would just have to buy one of those controllers and get Clone Hero, and then go to the website called Chorus, download whatever
Huh?
song you were wanting to do, and then it's just a case of you playing exactly the same as you would with the official like Guitar Hero games, but it's any song you want, and unlike the official game, they've made it more disabled friendly. They've got these modifiers on, where you can have it be where you only use the strum bar, um, which might make things a lot easier for some people. Or what I actually do is I only have it on taps. So what that means is when you're doing it, let me try and get this in shot. Um, all you're doing is pressing the fret keys and trying to match what's coming at you. Um, and you don't even need to worry about strumming, which is using this thing here. Um, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. I am really rubbish at it. I play it on easy, where most people play it on like expert. Um, but
Hmm.
it's great fun. I do plan on doing a live stream of that at some point. Um, but my main concern is when I do that live stream, I'm not going to be able to keep the archive because of content matching. If I leave it on Twitch, it'll just get muted, so there's no point. If I export it to YouTube before it gets muted, I'll get a content match there because that's just how the music industry is nowadays. Um, so it's technically a game that you can't really stream now, which kind of sucks. So if I do one, I'll just have to not keep the live recording. So it'll just be a I'll be doing it live, and if you are here, then you'll be able to see it and kind of pick whatever song, because you can more or less add whatever song you want as long as somebody's done
Hmm.
like the fretboard and everything, um, and like put it on a website like Chorus, which is the one I tend to use. Um, but yeah, it's really good for a game that's technically free, and all you got to do is either already have one of the PlayStation 2 controllers or Xbox or Wii. For some reason, it seems to favour the Wii controller. Not sure
Uh-huh.
why, but it does work with all of the other ones. Um, so yeah, I would say definitely check it out, especially with the fact that they've made it so it's more accessible to more people by having those modifiers.
Nice.
Anyway, you wanted to talk about the book.
Yes. So, as I said before, um, before watching the movie, The Bad Guys, obviously I never heard about it, didn't know what it was about or anything like that. And I didn't even know there was a book. But apparently there's a whole like plethora of the Bad Guys books, which I didn't know about. But um, after I watched the movie, I decided to check the book out. And I managed to read the entire book, the first one anyway, chapter one, um, chapter one, I think it's called, um, in like half an hour, only because the book is, even though there's like 145 pages in the book, it's done in comic book style. So each page is like maybe, you know, I would say two small sentences at max, maybe a maximum of like 30 words. If they're at that, some pages only have 10 words.
Yeah,
And
you
then some
showed me
pages, yeah,
not too long ago. I just didn't think to add it into my stream scene so everyone else could see, which is a real shame. But it does look really cool.
I can possibly, if this works, I can give an example. Um, although it's, where are we? So it's, yeah, where's my camera? Here's my camera. So it's like that.
There we go.
So, so it's literally, so like the pages are really small. So that's why I was managed to,
It's a really nice art style that they've gone with as well.
yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I don't know who the artist is. I don't know if it's the same as the author as well, or if it's someone else. But yeah, the artwork is second to none in the book, and the book features all the characters from the movie.
Okay, so
So there's
you've now read the first book. How much of that first book is in the movie. Uh,
It's interesting you should say that, is because I recognised some things from the reading the book that was in the movie,
right.
like the bit where there's a bit where it's where at the start the character say, "Hey you, I'm talking to you. Come closer." That is in both the movie and in the book.
Okay.
Um, and
It it
um,
it it wouldn't surprise me if they like mashed together like 3 or 4 books to make the one movie. Just with
yeah, so I
you
think
saying how
I
short they are.
so here's the thing. I think the book and the movie don't have any correlation in terms of like storyline. In terms of theme, yes, but in terms of storyline, kind of no.
Interesting.
Because in the movie, the gang are these famed bad guys who are who basically are like the world's best criminal gang, and they've got all these do these heists, and then eventually, um, I'm not going to tell you why, but they have to go on a mission to be good. Whereas in the book, it's and obviously they're friend. The gang is friends in the movie. They've known each other for ages. We do loads of missions together, loads of heists together. But
Mhm.
in the book, the first time that they all meet together is in the first book. So it's not like they've known each other for a long time. And they in the book it's about them trying to get rid of their people being scared of them reputation and try and do things to make them look good
Yeah.
or be good. So they're trying to be good guys in the book, even though they're bad guys. Whereas in the movie, they're bad guys and they do bad things, but later on in the movie, they do things that are good. So um, it's kind of it's they kind of like took the book and then like included things that were in the book in the movie or in the books in the movie, but then they put like a bigger storyline for the. In essence, it's just like a comic book, so they've
Yeah,
added
it
things
sounds like
to
they've
make it.
took bits from the first book and then padded it out. So they've either padded it out with their own stuff, or they'll have mushed together a few
Taken more
books,
more
which
of the books.
yeah, which you will find out if you do keep on
Yeah,
reading them. Which, knowing you, you probably will,
yeah,
because
yeah. Well, I am definitely. And one thing I'm raging about is I spent £3.80 right on the first book,
mm,
and the second book is £3.80, and then I scrolled along and it said a mashup book of books one and two, £3.80. I'm like, what?
oh, that's
Like,
such a
oh
scam.
man.
Wow. Okay. Which
But then I scrolled even further, and then there's like a coloured version of it. So the art in the first book is all coloured in.
which provider do you use for your ebooks?
Apple books.
Well, damn you, Apple.
Yeah, well, there you go. I did wonder because before I bought it, I did know there was like a mashup of books three and four and mashup of books five and six and seven and eight and stuff. So I thought, yeah, well, and I thought, well, there mustn't be one of one and two then, but
Right.
apparently there was.
Is there anything else that you're wanting to talk about, or is that it for the book?
I think that's it for the book. So I
Okay.
don't want to give any spoilers for it both. So just
Um.
read it and go and see it.
Well, I've talked about everything that I was wanting to talk about, and I've just heard my dad shouting me that our food's done, so I best wrap this up and head down for some food.
All
So
right.
um, we should be back to normal for next week. Um, and yeah, so I will see you next week, and I'll see the people in the chat um like way earlier next week. I'll be back doing my daily live streaming. Anyway,
And
so
remember, we hope you had a really good time.
it's been a month and you still okay.
It's my thing. It's what I do.